Hi, Gabriel, and I just wanted to take this time to go over my experience with HEMA and weapons-based martial arts in general. So, my first structured training occurred during about 7th grade when I participated in a fencing club that was in a town near where I lived. Now, this, of course, I recognize is not HEMA, and I had practiced by means of swing sticks at my friends in the backyard or on campouts. But this was the first systematic approach to swordsmanship that I had ever been exposed to. And in fact, this is the first training simulator that I ever had, which is, of course, a modern sports saber. I've had this since 7th grade, and this is the exact same one. It's quite dinged up, as you can see. But yeah, this was the beginning of my personal journey. After 3 months or so, the club moved and I was no longer able to participate. And so I had to continue my personal training and personal fencing education on my own. And I did this by interacting with friends, specifically by making simulators, what I think the LARPing or dagger community would call boffers, out of PVC pipe and camping pad foam. And we would hit each other's with those and have a good time. But that allowed me to get a better understanding of, say, distance and tempo, rather than straight on techniques. And it was after a little while that I learned there are other systems than fencing that taught practical swordsmanship. And one of the things that I came across and that I sympathized greatly with was HEMA. And so I began my personal journey. I got my first trainer shortly after. This is a Langes Messer by Purple Heart Armory. You can see it's taken some damage over the years. This actually is a rather recent addition to the scarring of it that only happened about 3 months ago. So those things, they last a while. That thing is almost 8 years old now. But after a while, I decided to get more serious into it and got more significant trainers and training simulators. This is an early Langes Messer by Black Fencer with a personal wrap. I just took the original cord wrap and wrapped in athletic tape because I did a lot of my training with bare hand and I found the wax cord to be rather abrasive. But this has been my primary trainer for the majority of my personal HEMA/fencing education. I did a lot of just personal training, again, going back to thwacking my friends with simulators. But all of it was self-driven and self-taught. And I had started to get into the systems. I discovered Wiktenauer, which is an amazing source. I discovered online YouTube videos that show technique, which is, again, another amazing source that didn't exist during the early days of HEMA that I'm grateful that I have access to now. But overall, it's a much slower process than to have a student to instructor relationship. However, I did make it work. Eventually, when I went to college, I could no longer participate in cross country for medical reasons, but I found that there was a fencing club on campus. And I joined up, and I found another person who had been introduced to HEMA and other forms of historical fencing. And we got together frequently, and he was my regular sparring partner, and you'll probably see him in some of the sparring videos that are coming up. But it was a very practical relationship in that it allowed me to test what I had been self-taught against. It allowed me to test what I taught myself against somebody who had also gone on a similar journey. And we could compare notes and try to figure out, okay, what works and what doesn't. It was about this time that I started looking into how this could apply to writing and literature, because I am a aspiring writer. I won't say that I'm good yet, nor do I plan on publishing anytime soon, but it is a pastime of mine, and I hope to make it something more significant in the future. But the historical systems allow me to better put on page a realistic fight scenario. And this can go with both historical and with fantasy designs. For example, this is a design that I came up with that was made by Purple Heart, which is essentially inspired by a Langes Messer. But this also was where I entered the more critiquing and improving side of the HEMA community. For example, the Noggle, you'll see on this, is different than the original. I developed this design based on similar products that I found online, though I don't think that they were done the exact same way. This one I did basically just by hot gluing a bolt and then adding a Purple Heart blunt cap on the other side. And I approached Purple Heart with this, and it is now one of the standard methods of construction that they use in their equipment. So I can claim that I had a hand in that, which I'm very proud of. And just almost 2 years ago, it was the fall of 2019, where I got involved and was introduced to official HEMA clubs. My first exposure was at the HEMA Symposium in Kansas City during 2019, where I was in contact with the head of the club known as Heartland HEMA. And I received instruction there, or I shouldn't say receive. I did receive instruction through the workshops, but it was more of a socializing event where I got to be introduced to different members of the community, and I actually met a prolific YouTuber there as well. And that allowed me to test my skill against actual instructors. Well, not just instructors, but people who have been structurally taught HEMA. And that was an eye-opener for me because I did surprisingly well, better than I thought that I would have, which was great for me because it means that I was doing something right during the past, at that point, 7 years of practice, of self-instruction. Then quarantine hit, and I wasn't able to go to the clubs, unfortunately, but I did start investing in sharps, which I have and will show more on the channel. And I'm currently looking into steel trainers at the moment. I've almost got a complete kit together, and soon we'll be able to participate in tournaments as well. Upcoming progressions in the community. Obviously, I hope to compete in tournaments, but I also will be working outside of historical European martial arts, and I'll be branching out to historical Chinese martial arts and hopefully eventually African martial arts as well. This is actually a review sample sent by LK Chen. I have another one just like it, and I also have a steel trainer of their Han Dynasty fencing jian, which has a more significant hilt, partially for my research and partially for reviewing on the channel. And I will also be doing a joint project with LK Chen, hopefully Mr. Chen himself, and a professor of anthropology, specifically archaeology, who focuses on experimental archaeology and recreating lost fighting systems. His focus is on the Bronze Age. I hope to apply his methods to Han Dynasty Chinese martial arts. So that is something that you can look forward to, and I'll make another video explaining more on that when there's more grounds to the project itself. But yeah, that's about where we're at today. It's been a long journey, and it's going to be an even longer journey because I have no intention of stopping soon. But I've been holding my own during bouts with some very large names in the HEMA community, and I look forward to testing my skills even more. I'm by no means the best, but I hope to hopefully get there one day. All right, thanks for tuning in.